The stage is set. The dates for India's general elections have been announced earlier this evening. It will be a 7-phase election. The polling starts on the 11th of April. The biggest date out of it all, of course, being the 23rd of May. That's when counting begins. India's Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora announced the poll dates in a press conference held in New Delhi. The 4 states of Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh will also go for assembly elections. The Model Code of Conduct comes into effect immediately, and also for the first time, social media content will come under the ambit of the poll code. This means that costs of social media posts will also be a part of candidates' total poll expenditure. All ads on social media will have to be pre-certified. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reacted to the poll date announcement just a short while back, calling it the festival of democracy and expressing his hope that the election will witness a historic turnout.
First phase, 11th April. Second phase, 18th April. Third phase, 23rd April. Fourth phase, 29th April. Fifth phase, 6th May. Sixth phase, 12th May. Phase 7, 19th May. Am I clear now? And all countings, no need to say, but I am repeating, 23rd May.
And as we mentioned earlier, one of the most important announcements being that social media accounts and posts will also be covered under the Model Code of Conduct. Here's what the Chief Election Commissioner had to say while making that announcement.
Candidates are required to furnish details of their social media account. All political advertisement on social media will also require pre-certification. All expenditure on campaigning advertisement on social media is to be included in the election expenditure account. All provisions of Model Code of Conduct shall also apply to the content being posted on social media by candidates and political parties.
Let's broaden this up and take a step back and delve deeper into the many aspects that that press conference puts forth. Joining us right here in the studio is Lord Meghnad Desai. Thanks very much for joining us indeed. Also joining us is Neena Gopal, senior journalist from Bengaluru, and Andrew Whitehead, writer and senior journalist, joining us live from Chennai. We'll also be in just a short bit joined in by Daniel Frances, political analyst. Coming to you first, Lord Meghnad Desai, your initial reaction to how important the announcement is on the social media campaigning regulation.
Well, not only was social media beginning to be important in 2014, at that time nobody knew the rules of the game. Now we know the rules of the game, but we also know much more important, which is not mentioned here, is fake news from abroad. I don't know whether the Election Commission is ready to look at fake news from abroad, because definitely in both the American election and the British referendum on Brexit, it mattered quite a lot. So I think one of the things we would like to know from the Election Commission is how are they going to track fake news? And then if fake news helps one candidate or another, where does the expenditure go?
Absolutely. Andrew Whitehead, interesting point being made there. And, many questions have also been raised over how challenging this task will be for the Election Commission. There are political parties putting out posts, there are supporters, and then there are members of the political parties. Also in the wake of the multi-pronged approach that the government of India has been resorting to clamp down on fake news and making Facebook and Twitter, for example, accountable for misinformation.
Well, the Election Commission has given notice of its intention to try and regulate social media and bring it fully within the Code of Conduct. That's easier said than done, of course, and as you say, WhatsApp groups, all sorts of things could easily find ways around the regulations. But it does seem from what the Chief Election Commissioner was saying during his announcement that the Election Commission has had discussions with Google, with Twitter and with YouTube, and they are broadly on board, though I am slightly sceptical about whether the grievance officers that have been announced will in themselves be sufficient to be able to invigilate the huge amount of social media, which will be much greater than I think than 5 years ago and potentially much more influential.
Neena Gopal, would you want to weigh in on the uphill task that the Election Commission has in store when it comes to monitoring social media campaigning?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a huge challenge too. But you see, the whole issue of social media is because the BJP and the Congress are tapping into the youth vote. They're the people who can actually make the difference. It's not the hard, the caste and the community vote which actually makes a difference these days. It's the youth vote which won Modi 2014, and he's going to do everything he can to mobilize the youth vote again through social media if it's necessary.
And the use of technology in this election, all the more, of course. It's an election of many firsts, Daniel Frances. The aspect of the Android application, for example, to report poll code violation, that, of course, has been something that has also been resorted to in the early elections. But to what extent do you think this importance that the Election Commission has attached to the use of social media coming in the backdrop of the relevance of social media as a tool for deciding political discourse? Daniel Frances, that question was for you. All right, we'll just try and reconnect that line with Danielle. But important point being made by you, Lord Desai, there. The importance that the election in 2014 had when it comes to social media regulation. Do you think that this election, this announcement also came along expected lines, given the importance and given the priority that digital media has taken in view of deciding the political discourse?
I think, yes, it has been done. My main concern would be, I think people are constantly innovating on the social media front. They're finding newer and newer ways of passing message around. And as Andrew Whitehead was saying, you can form all sorts of informal groups and play. Now, is the Election Commission aware? I'm sure they are aware of all the various things which could be done from outside, as well as inside, people camouflaging who they belong to or who they are helping. And this is one thing that we'll have to be constantly vigilant about, because in India, if nothing else, is both digitally aware as well as a very controversy-oriented democracy. So as soon as some violation takes place, people say, foul, we don't like this, we lost because so-and-so cheated, and so on. And so I think the Election Commission will have to be very much on top of the game and make quite sure not only that Google and Facebook, etc., cooperate, but that things from outside, which may happen as the Americans and Russia thing, and even from outside can hack in. So that will have to be very important.
Andrew Whitehead, in terms of holding Facebook and Twitter as platforms accountable for the spread of misinformation, for example, the government of India has been making every effort in that direction. But how successful do you think those measures have been so far?
Well, I'd wish them good luck, but it is hugely difficult trying to regulate and get on top of these IT giants. However, the Electoral Commission here is making the attempt. It's a huge task. I'm not at all convinced that they'll get very far, but they are taking it on. The equivalent to the Electoral Commission in the UK hasn't really taken that on board, and as Lord Desai was mentioning, the use of social media during the EU referendum campaign 2 or 3 years ago was really quite influential and in many ways quite negative. There was a huge amount of fake news, a lot of it was not contested, and this is a sign that the Election Commission in India means business. How much it will succeed, I think, is very much open to question.
All right. Now, the other crucial aspect and the other takeaway from what the Election Commission today has stated is the use of the Balakot strikes, for example, in the run-up to the elections, and has come down very heavily on that aspect as well. Neena Gopal, I want to come to you on that front. The issue of the nationalistic fervour that, of course, has been talked about and referred to time and again in the run-up to the elections. Of course, not taking away from the core issues, like to do with the economy, to do with the farmers' distress. How important and how significant do you think the issue of the Balakot strikes will be for this election?
Well, from what I'm hearing, there is a huge, an unspoken kind of undercurrent which is running through the Indian populace on Balakot. So I believe it has actually, helped Modi unexpectedly. No one expected Balakot in the first place. So I think the Jaish-e-Mohammed has done, Prime Minister Modi a huge favor. But the point about Balakot is that we still don't know for sure. I wish the Prime Minister would come out in the open and actually say that, we've done this and, and actually have demolished or destroyed the Jaish-e-Mohammed. In this case, we have all these doubts because the opposition, Congress, of course, has gone to town on it, asking hundreds of questions. It would suit, I think, the Prime Minister to ride on Balakot, just as he did in 2014 when you make Pakistan the enemy. Very clearly, Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, tried to obviate that to a certain extent by actually handing over the wing commander, back, hoping that it won't, basically increase the tension on the border, although that hasn't stopped. More importantly, I think, with the jobs crisis, with the economy in a downturn, Modi, I think, needed Balakot, and he probably will make full use of it I suppose, get the votes that he needs. He is the macho man. He's the man who can't be seen as having lost out to Pakistan, the old enemy. So these are points which will work in his favor. I don't think there's any getting away from that.
Lord Desai?
Well, let me first of all say, economy is not in a downturn. The growth rate forecast very recently is 7.3%. And I won't go into the job situation, take me too long. But what is interesting is, it is not in Modi's interest to clarify anything, because he would like the discussion to go on. And as long as Balakot discussion goes on, and the opposition says, oh, we don't trust you, he will gain. You see, he will gain by the opposition saying, we don't trust you, you are lying. Because he will say, look, they are criticizing the army, not me.
Right.
In any case, in a thing like this, a government would not come clean because they don't want to reveal what they've done.
Sure.
But secondly, why would he? What's in it for him? Nothing. And if he does clarify, it will not stop the controversy.
Right, and Daniel Frances, what the election commissioner today stated in categorical terms. He's coming down heavily on the use of this very issue for campaigning. Your reaction to what he said earlier in the day. And also, the issue, as we've been discussing, will have an impact on the swing voters is also something that many have said.
I really think that it's a very good move that the Election Commission has stepped in and given its instructions on not politicizing the army or the Balakot regarding the Balakot incident. But I don't think that political parties will stop doing it, because the discussion on social media and other forms of unconventional media, and also the Prime Minister himself is continuing talking about it, and leader of oppositions questioning it, asking for proof. The issue is already politicized, and it will be very difficult for the issue to go out of this election, because this is a this Balakot has provided a national theme for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. And also one could only see in time whether the instructions given by the Election Commission can be followed tooth and nail.
And Andrew Whitehead...
But it will be
yes, go ahead, Daniel,
simplistic to say that... It will be simplistic to say that only on the guidance of guidelines that are laid by Election Commission, an issue like this will die down or will not be touched. Elections after elections, we have seen, particularly in the last 10-15 years, that the things and the issues, institutions that were untouchable issues of election have become now are no more a taboo. In fact, politicization of institution is a very big election issue in almost all elections. We have seen it in 2009 from Prime Minister's office to 2014 to CAG, and now the Indian Army and the operation that they have undertaken in POK.
Right. So, Andrew Whitehead, what Daniel also is pointing towards is how it will be very interesting to note how this really plays out over the next few weeks, given the fact that the Balakot airstrikes have come this close to the election. We do not know ever of a case in the past when, for example, even the Mumbai attacks were 5 months before the elections. And the pitch that the ruling parties have taken when it comes to the issue of national security, your assessment of the conversation that's unfolded so far on the Balakot strikes in the political discourse?
Well, it reminds me a little bit, I'm going to show my age, of what happened in the United Kingdom in the early 1980s when Margaret Thatcher was very unpopular towards the end of her first term in government, and then she fought a most unexpected war in the Falklands in the South Atlantic against Argentina, and she won it. And a year later, she won a very convincing second term in power. Now, there's lots of differences, of course, between the UK in the 1980s and India today, between the Falklands War and Balakot. But whatever the Election Commission says, and I think it's entirely right and well-meaning in what it says, Balakot will shape the election campaign and it will give a benefit to the BJP. We're already seeing how difficult it is for opposition parties to try to neutralise the perception of Narendra Modi as a tough leader who is really strong in clamping down on India's enemies. Having said all that, I think this will influence some voters. I don't think it's going to make this a national security election, as some people are saying. I still think that jobs and rural distress will be the main factors in the campaign.
Lord Desai?
Yes, I agree in one respect. I think before Balakot happened, before Pulwama happened, it was quite clear that BJP was going to be the largest single party, minority majority, and NDA was going to form the coalition. I don't think there was at least much doubt about that. Wild hopes could be held that this will be, the Mahagathbandhan will reverse it, but I think that's a low probability. Now, how would Balakot affect? Well, obviously people think very favorably to Modi. But, I have a sort of grave doubt about one thing. The terrorists may strike again. The terrorists may strike during the election campaign. At that stage, it becomes very difficult to know which way the effect would be of this thing. Because, let's say if something like Pulwama had happened in the middle of an election campaign without Balakot happening, okay, think of that scenario because of delay and so on. It's very difficult to know how people will react. So I don't think anybody should take for granted that A, it's all over,
of course,
and B, that the effect just will be one way. I think every side ought to be very cautious before taking anything for granted. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world at large and in this situation. Therefore, caution on all parts would be desirable.
Right. Let's also now speak a little bit about the state of Jammu and Kashmir, where there were expectations from at least the local parties there that there will be simultaneous elections. The Election Commission today announced dates only for the parliamentary elections in the state. A decision on the dates for the assembly elections will be taken later. The Election Commission said it could not ignore the security situation there. Let's take a listen into what the Chief Election Commissioner had to say.
Central forces is definitely a big issue, and you cannot disregard the recent developments. The Commission ultimately doesn't capitulate to anybody and will not capitulate to anybody. But at the same time, Commission cannot be non-cognizant of the situations on the ground.
And Daniel, moments after that announcement, we of course had Omar Abdullah lashing out at Rajnath Singh, so on and so forth, questioning the assurances that have been given by the central government vis-a-vis the security apparatus in the state of Jammu and Kashmir particularly. Your reaction to the way the war of words has unfolded over the last couple of hours soon after that announcement?
See, the Umar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti to react in a way that they have reacted is expected on the unexpected lines.
Yes.
But one has to be sure. You know, last year there was a by-election of Farooq Abdullah, which was put aside twice before it actually happened. And now the situation in Kashmir is not even as better as it was last year. It has worsened over the period of time. So, if the election commission is on the aid and advise, they must have definitely taken some input from the central government, thinking that it would be not proper to hold the assembly elections with the Lok Sabha as it was indicated. It is their prerogative, and I think all parties to support it, wait for situation to become better, and then have that election in the right time. Because if the situation is not conducive and we are not going to get people to vote, to have that kind of election is a little difficult. Not really ignoring the fact that the national party in power and the local parties there are playing politics to score their brownie points. But this is a serious issue, and if the election commission feels that this is not the right time, I think we should wait for the right time for elections to be held, and they can't be postponed forever. So sooner or later the election should take place in Kashmir.
Lord Desai, I saw you shaking your head. You don't completely agree?
I don't see any logic in what the Election Commission says. If the situation is very fragile, you can hold one election but not two simultaneously. I think not holding assembly election will cause more anger in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in Kashmir, than holding the election. I think the security arrangement will have to be done twice instead. Just do it for once, do it double, but have the double election, and that will really count in the favor of the rest of India caring about Jammu and Kashmir.
Daniel?
I agree with what Lord Desai is saying. I was just responding to the factual point that the Election Commission is saying, that we can't hold it because of the security situation. And I really think, in my personal opinion, one, the security situation in Kashmir should improve. Secondly, people's confidence in election process that is held courtesy India, government of India, should be honored. So I don't think people have faith left in that side of the country that they will participate for any kind of an election. So the government of India should work on two fronts. One is to getting the faith of the people of Kashmir back in the political system and the mainstream political system here, and hold that election that truly elects them a government of their choice.
Here is a voting process taking place. Should the voters of Kashmir cast one vote or two votes? I'm being told that casting two votes is much more dangerous than casting one vote. Makes absolutely no sense. Sorry.
No, I'm not Desai. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, see, Lok Sabha elections have to be taken place in April, May, because by the May last week we need to have our elected MPs in the parliament and an elected government. So keeping that in mind, I think they have a room for not holding assembly elections along with Lok Sabha. And they are exercising it. It's not that the assembly has to be elected now. So in terms of time frames, I don't think they have breached any law.
No, it's not a breach of law business. It is whether you are going to treat Kashmir always as an exception or are you going to try and treat it like the rest of India? It's very simple. Let Kashmir belong to India, treat it like the rest of India. Yes, have double security there, but have both elections together, because that makes much more sense to me. And it will make to Kashmiris as well.
That is a perspective that is purely political. Now, are we saying that Election Commission has acted on behest of the political party in power in Delhi? Are we insinuating that? We should not. Election Commission has its own ways of assessing situation and how and when they can hold elections.
I believe Andrew Whitehead also wants to come in here. Andrew?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Lord Desai here. I find it completely baffling that the Election Commission can say that parliamentary elections can take place across Jammu and Kashmir, but yet state assembly elections can't. There is, of course, a great deal of tension and violence in Indian Kashmir, but the level of civil unrest now in the Kashmir Valley is lower than it was in 2016 and 2017. And the main political parties there, both the National Conference and the PDP, are adamant that elections should take place concurrently for the State Assembly and for the parliamentary seats there. And according to Omar Abdullah on Twitter, and I haven't checked this out, but I think he's correct, this would be the first time that J&K state elections have not taken place on schedule since 1996, more than 20 years ago. As I understand it, under the regulations for Governor's Rule, elections should take place by the end of May.
Right, and
there have been many elections that...
Yes, go ahead.
There have been many elections fought in Jammu and Kashmir under the Abdullahs, which were not perceived as free and fair. Even that is something that we should not forget.
Lord Desai?
I mean, it may yet be the case that the Election Commission could change its mind and say, we still can do this. I think they left the door open slightly. So it may be that they're waiting to surprise everybody and not, saying anything yet. But I still think that holding a security risk, having taken it twice rather than just taking it once, I just don't see why anybody would take a risk twice.
Right, so that's been one major point of contention, at least as far as the local parties in the state of Jammu and Kashmir are concerned. They have been up in arms against the central government also over the aspect of the security apparatus. Let's also now, speaking of these parties, speak a little bit about the alliances equation and the role of regional parties in this all-important election. Neena Gopal, I want to get you in on the aspect of how challenging it will be for the BJP, for example, in case of the key alliances in the states of Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka.
Well, I think in the state of Karnataka, I think it's very clear that the Congress and the JDS are going to go together. They're going to have a very crucial meeting tomorrow morning where they will decide on their seat sharing. But I think more than anything else, I mean, this is my gut right now. It could be proved completely wrong. But the Congress and the JDS actually share the same voter base in a huge part of southern Karnataka. And that is actually going to be the bone of contention and it will work to the BJP's favor, because the BJP's vote share has also risen in pockets in South Karnataka, which is what they will cash in on. And they ultimately, I mean, in the ultimate analysis, out of the 28 seats, the BJP still has is sitting with 17 seats, and there is a very small likelihood of them losing out on those 17 seats. But more importantly, I think the JDS riding piggyback, so to speak, on the Congress, and the Congress very afraid of, of sort of, I suppose, breaking the alliance and going to, polls separately, I don't know whether that will work to the Congress and the JDS's advantage. The JDS is very clear. It basically wants to do this because it needs the numbers in the national, the Gathbandhan to show that it has the numbers. But I don't know whether the Congress is going to be able to come away with this looking any stronger, because the alliances that it is trying to forge now in UP with the SP and BSP hasn't really worked out to its advantage. It's from what I hear, they're still saying that they want 11 to 12, and I don't know whether the BSP and the SP are going to agree on that. So, you know, these are irritants, and also I feel the Congress has not shown the confidence and the speed with which the BJP worked to wrap up the Shiv Sena and, you know, and in Bihar and KCR and so on. You know, and of course the Anna DMK. It shows that the BJP knows what it needs to do. The Congress still seems to be floundering a little bit.
Right, and Andrew, would you agree with the assessment that the Congress has been on shaky ground for a while, especially when we take into account pre-poll alliances?
I would. Congress had a great month in December when it won those 3 key state elections. It followed that up by the announcement that Priyanka Gandhi was going to get active in politics really for the first time, and that was a big boost for the party in Uttar Pradesh, a big boost for party activists. But since then, it seems to have run out of ideas, it seems to have run out of dynamism. We know who it won't do deals with, notably the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. There's not much of a longer list of those that it will do deals with. So it's got the NCP, it's got the RJD, it's got the DMK down here. But the really big deals that it needs, with the really powerful regional leaders, it hasn't quite yet managed to deliver. And I think, as we heard, the real problem in Uttar Pradesh is if they don't do a deal with the SP and BSP, they may be getting just a couple of seats in India's most powerful state.
Right. Lord Desai, would you like to come in here?
I think if I were Congress, what I would do is, where the regional satraps are powerful, leave them alone, let them run their own show, and in states where Congress has a big presence, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, there they should insist that they would be the lead party. But in Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, they should basically let the local, West Bengal, they should let the local satrap run the show. That will be much clearer that Congress fighting in Uttar Pradesh is going to be so counterproductive. It will not get them any seats, and it will hurt SP and BSP. And nobody is going to like that.
Daniel, how can we have that conversation without bringing up the name of Priyanka Gandhi Vandra and focusing also on the rather limited role that she has so far had to play when it comes to the Congress's electoral strategy? Many would call it a measured approach, a measured tactic, but at the same time, one senses a certain bit of hesitation on part of the party to give her a larger role. Would you agree? Because, you know, one also noticed, for example, during the first mega road show that the two held, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, towards the end of that as well, we had Rahul Gandhi taking the mic, and we did not hear a word coming in from Priyanka Gandhi.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that Priyanka Gandhi has got a limited role in the Congress party. Anybody would imagine that a role will be much better and bigger. But one has to give credit to the Congress on that front, that they think that she can be productive in Eastern UP, and she has been given charge of the organization, instead of using her to their advantage as a star campaigner, because it is believed that she can be a good star campaigner. She is exhausting all her energies at the organization level, meeting workers, meeting leaders, and deciding the future course of action in the region in which she is the General Secretary in charge. Let's see what kind of results that she gets, whether Priyanka Gandhi will be a change maker or change the fortune of the Congress party in that region. Only results will tell. But it was a much awaited entry into the Congress party, and the general buzz, we would say, that was that she can be a great crowd puller, and her oratory particularly is something that is quite attractive. So I don't know if in the future or in the times to come whether she will have a bigger role, but we will have to judge her on the basis of how she performs in Eastern UP.
Neena Gopal, would you like to come in here on that aspect?
Yeah, I've actually watched Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi in the early days when Rahul launched his career so many years ago, and I was taken with the fact that Priyanka Gandhi knew every single person in that village that we went to, right from the mother, the father, the uncle to the aunt. She was asking people what they had done with that house which had broken down. She asked somebody what her son was doing. So, you know, this woman, I think we haven't seen the real Priyanka Gandhi as yet. You know, I think the person who will possibly, you know, handle UP, you know, she probably hasn't been seen to, you know, I mean, that Priyanka Gandhi was very impressive to me so many years ago. And I don't think she's going to let that fall by the wayside. But Priyanka Gandhi aside, you know, we also have so many other smaller parties in UP which the BJP actually managed to bring on board, like Apna Dal and all of that. I was curious to see why, you know, the Congress didn't reach out to groups like that, even though they are disillusioned with the Modi government and this huge, the Muslim vote, of course, which is upset with Modi for all the lynch mobs and so on and so forth, and the other group, which is you know, the other parties like which are upset. I mean, not just the parties, the Brahmins, etc., who are upset about the rise of the Thakurs in UP. I think all of those issues are something which I don't think it's just got to do with Priyanka Gandhi. I think it's also because the Congress is in a state of transition, and I think they have to analyze what they have to do with all these various groups that have you know, emerged since the Congress got decimated, you know, down to you know, 4 seats the last time. So it's a very tough call, UP, I think, and Bihar, I mean, is the other issue really, because you know, you've got to understand that Lalu may be in decline, but there is a son of his who seems to be, you know, coming up. There's Shatrughan Sinha. There are so many ifs and buts to this Mahagathbandhan which haven't really you know, taken a form or enough of a substance to counter Modi, and that I think is my major concern when you see these you know, these very fractured kind of voices that are coming in from various across the country, not just UP and not just Bihar. I believe Akhilesh Yadav is supposed to have said something just yesterday. I think his tweet was that we only will give you 2 seats to the Congress. So where does the Congress go with that?
All right, I have just enough time for quick closing remarks from beginning with Andrew Whitehead on the aspect of the booth level management, for example, that's been discussed time and again. Why is it taking the Congress so much time to catch up with the BJP, for example, on that aspect? And why is the party lagging behind when it comes to consolidating its cadre on that aspect?
I really wonder. I'm lost for an answer. I think in part the Congress does not come across as very hungry for power, and in part I don't think it's learnt the lesson of humility. So I think it's still expecting people to flock to them, and actually a party which has just got 44 members of the Lok Sabha is not in a very strong position. But with what Lord Desai was saying earlier, which is just basically Congress should let the regional power brokers get on with it. The problem with that is we could still have Congress emerging with fewer than 100 seats in the next Lok Sabha, which would be a real recipe for difficulties, because it would then be very difficult for them to stake a claim to lead any anti-Modi opposition coalition in the, I have to say, unlikely event that the NDA is well short of the requisite number.
Daniel Francis, one final remark.
Yeah, the final remark I'd like to make is that, you know, I think this Congress position, present day Congress position is a little exaggerated, poorly exaggerated, in a sense that the party is not doing well, may not get enough seats and things like that. From 2014 onwards, if you see, It has a presence in Rajasthan, it has a presence in Madhya Pradesh, it has a presence in Chhattisgarh. In UP, it has a long way to go, but there are recoveries for the Congress party. Also, the alliance in JDS and in AIADMK, NCP in Maharashtra are alliances that can win them enough seats. So I think the Congress will be a stronger party in 2019 as it emerged. Perhaps the Congress should aim to become a legitimate and a strong opposition to Modi in 2019 and then strategize towards 2024 to come to power on its own or with the help of allies. The weakness of the party is that this party has never given great importance to its workers, organization, improved its organizational skill. If you compare the Congress and the BJP, if you go to Congress party offices in the states that they are ruling, and even when during the time of UPA 1 and UPA 2, they were never offices that could draw power for the workers. Ministers would not visit them. There is no connection between ruling dispensation and political workers. So if you go to Bombay here in Maharashtra, you can see that Shiv Sena Bhavan is a place of strength for people who are working for the Sena. That kind of thing is not there. So it has to learn a lot from its mistake, which sadly I think has not learned. The party has a great support base in India. Even in 2014, they had 11 crore voters voting for them against 17 crores of the BJP. They should communicate better and with their workers and with their voters and bring that trust back.
Lord Desai?
Yes, I think in a sense what Congress should have done is taken a two-step strategy, a little bit now and bigger thing in 2024. Because right now Congress doesn't have activists, they have seat seekers. If you don't give them a seat, so there's nobody to man the polling booths, there's nobody to go door to door, which BJP has. And Congress has just become a party of leaders. And with Priyanka, they've added one more leader. And okay, all good luck to her. But what they need to do is, from 44, get to, let us say, 88. Double it, and then prepare for the big rise next time. I think a bit of modesty would not come amiss.
All right. On that note, we're completely out of time on the discussion. We're going to thank all our guests for joining us this evening. Daniel Frances, Meena Gopal, Andrew Whitehead and Lord Meghnad Desai. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. With those crucial perspectives, of course, we will keep a close eye on the latest coming in on the election dates announcement that's come in from the Election Commission of India. It's going to be a crucial couple of months ahead.